Okay, now we're live. So I'm doing a makeup stream, but at the same time, I'm gonna be talking about Dungeons and Dragons because I just had a very long, not really conversation, info dumping. Um, info dumping with my mother-in-law about Dungeons and Dragons and the races they're in and my preferences and what can be expected. And she's played before, not recently, but she's played before and not with me. Let me get my hair up for the makeup. Oh, wait. Are my headphones connected? I don't think I did that. I hope. Yep, it should be a lot better now. You should be able to hear me. Like I said, I'm doing a makeup stream while talking about D&D and my preferences for race and class choice and what factors go into that for me. Okay. I'm a little tired. Um, I'm still not used to getting up so early to take my partner to work, but she can't drive, so I mean, I can only drive because of my hand controls. Um, I'm gonna try and mainly talk about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, but I will also definitely be talking about Pathfinder a little bit. It's my preferred system anyway. I do have new product for the makeup portion of the stream, and this will be the first. This is concealer. I'm gonna use it for highlight. It's basic. I've done it all the time, but I'm kind of new to both setting powder and lip liner, so we'll see how it goes. I have high hopes for the lip liner. Now, that being said, we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons. We had somehow gotten on the topic of gnomes specifically, and whether you love gnomes or hate gnomes, and why everyone seems to be in one of those two camps where they either love gnomes or hate gnomes. I'm going to just edit my little widget here. I think that's better. A little bit smaller. Um, so I am in the camp that I love gnomes. They are one of my favorite races, and they get extra points, importantly, because they are ubiquitous to an extent. Whenever I try a new system, or whenever I um, switch editions, even, they are reliable because they are so ingrained into the DNA of D&D, D&DA. Um, and they might work a little differently, but I can work with that. Unlike, say, a Warforged, which is another one of the races that are really up there on my list of favorites. And with the Warforged, you end up with so many problems. Either they haven't been printed in this edition yet, or your DM doesn't like technological and or steampunk elements in their fantasy, or there's so many other barriers to entry in getting to reliably play a Warforged. Sorry, I was looking for this. I found it so I could start with the makeup portion of the stream. Um, and Warforged aren't the most high on my list because I've identified that the biological fantasy of a lack of need is really high in my book. And while Warforged generally don't explicitly age and don't need to eat, usually don't need traditional sleep, all that, it's not biological, and that part taints the fantasy a little bit for me. But that's where Pathfinder comes in with their gnomes, which is my preferred lore for gnome characters in tabletop. Kitty cat, I'm gonna need you to not mess with my makeup. You not right now. The window's not yours. Go to the other window. You know what? If you're gonna be a brat about it, you're going on stream. This is my cat. First time he's ever been on stream. His name is Edmund. He's a very good kitty, and I know that he's very good because he puts up with me. Say hi, Edmund. Mwah. No. And he just waits for me to be done loving on him, even though he's not the most keen on it. Oh, but he's licking me now. You're such a sweetheart. Yeah, I've definitely grown on him and not the other way around over the year and a half we've had him. Anyway, biological fantasy. The gnomes in Pathfinder, if you didn't know, they are essentially biologically immortal. They still eat, they still sleep, but they don't age. And that's the hardest of the categories to find. If we're talking no need to eat, no need to sleep, no need to drink, and no need to breathe, then you have don't age. That's the checklist for the biological fantasy of lack of needs. Um, and the gnomes check the hardest one. They don't really age. That is because they basically have ADHD on steroids, and I don't have ADHD, but I find it very charming as a character trait. Um, where they'll hyperfixate on something, something will be their special interest, and provided they don't lose interest in all of their special interests at the same time, they're golden. They don't age, and they can just keep going. And that's really cool. But what's even cooler is exploring what happens when the worst happens and they do lose interest. And that's called the bleaching because they're colorful, they're vibrant, they're excitable little gnomes. And when they lose interest, their color starts to bleach and they're more toned down in every way. And it's harmful to their health as individuals. I gotta start doing this, or I'm not going to. It's kind of really hard to keep on track when I'm doing both. Um, but whatever. So, with that said, um, and they lose interest, not all of them die from this bleaching process. Most do. It's very uncommon to survive the bleaching. But when they do, it gets even cooler. Okay, they become what's called a bleachling instead of a standard gnome, and they get more serious. They get a bit more macabre in a lot of cases. They become goth gnomes, and they still have those strong interests that they had before. They were able to rekindle it and not die, or maybe different interests than they had before. But so they maintain the biological fantasy of not wanting or needing to worry about age taking you down, of not worrying about, well, really for them, it's just the age portion. Um, but they give you a whole new flavor of gnome to work with. And more than most sub races, the Bleachling feels like it's doing sub races correctly when it comes to um, having the subrace feel different for a reason in a way that matters, and be a culture, a respectable, and I say respectable culture, most cultures, as a general rule, should be respectable because not respecting culture sucks. Coming from an anthropologist, that's what my degree is in. Like, just take my word for it. Respect culture. But I don't know. You look at elves, and you look at high elves, and wood elves, and dark elves, and if we ignore dark elves for just a minute, because they fall into a different category that I will discuss in a moment, what mechanically, mechanically is the wrong word there, what in actuality is the real difference between a high elf and a wood elf? The wood elf has antlers sometimes. The wood elf is shorter, but they play very similar. They still get proficiency in perception. They still get the Fey heritage trance thing about sleeping spells, etc. I'm probably overdoing my forehead because my hair is just going to be in the way, but whatever. This is just for fun. I don't even have an event to go to or anything. And I'm really trying to make sure I get good coverage because I am pissed off at this dollar store makeup that I was stupid enough to buy because it's not as good as I would have liked. Okay, so those were the differences in the high elf and the wood elf, but what about the high elf and the moon elf? Really nebulous there. You don't really feel like you're getting a different experience. What about the high elf and the Averial elf? Now you're an elf with wings. I'd imagine that's a major difference, more so than the wood elf's antlers. But don't they just kind of feel like a high elf with wings? If you get what I'm saying? And when it comes to the bleachlings versus the standard gnomes, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like as much of a dichotomy as saying the difference between a tiefling and an ASMR, or if done very well in the presentation and the roleplay, the difference between a tiefling born of one of the low realms, say hell, versus a tiefling born of demons from the abyss. If the distinction matters to you, and it should, for the purposes discussed herein, feeling like a new experience, a different experience, because that's what we want to go for here. Many different novel ways to play the same game in a balanced and fun form. Let's see how good this concealer is. I'm so glad to have concealer again. Really putting it on thick so I get an idea. I'm not using the mirror and I am half blind for a reminder. So we are very much winging it today. Um, Back to the biological fantasy aspect. My go-to races for tabletop, especially fifth edition tabletop, specifically D&D, are the Reborn, the Warforged, the Changeling, the Averial, and the Gnome. And I don't know if you can notice any sort of pattern with that. But the Warforged eschews biological need. The Reborn, the Reborn is my absolute favorite way to play 5th edition D&D. Hands down, no questions asked. And that is because they leave it open to you. And it's mostly flavor. It almost never comes up, but I would still talk to your dungeon master if you were going to go this route. But the Reborn are basically you died, but it's okay. You got better. You got better. And you got to say it like that, I swear. Um, you died, but it was a temporary inconvenience. Like you're back now, but you're different. You came back a little bit wrong. And I love things like that because they encourage you to be creative in the ways in which you have come back wrong. And there are many, many games where dungeon masters give you at base, even before anything like this, more than the default starting equipment. And if you have something like this, or even the Hermit's Revelation from the Hermit background of 5e, you work with your DM because that's something extra. That's something that can make you more a part of the world if it ties you to other characters, or especially if it makes you depend on other characters, NPCs, or players. It's something that can flesh out your backstory and make it really feel unique. And my go to with the Reborn, because I have this character that I've played many, many times. Um, the way they came back wrong, they're eschewing those 5 biological needs: no food, no drink, no sleep. Usually they still need a period of low energy. You know, talk to your dungeon master. But no food, no drink, no sleep, no breathing, because they're being sustained by something else now, and no aging. It's so fun. And it rarely comes up, but it feels so good. And one of the better things about The Reborn is you had a life when you weren't like this. You didn't, you were normal, assumably, for your race. And it lets you, I believe, get 2 skill proficiencies if you don't want to specify your race or don't take what they gave, or keep any, sorry, keep any additional movement speed your race gave on top of 1 skill proficiency. So if you went Triton Reborn, you would keep your swim speed. If you went a Varial Elf, going back to that, you would keep your fly speed. You still have those wings; they're still usable. Um, if you were a Varial Elf, you would keep your perception skill proficiency because you keep 1 skill proficiency. What you wouldn't keep, and this is a pet peeve of mine, because oh my god, I would be in absolute love. If you were a changeling, you don't keep your ability to change your form. Now, if you have a DM that is the kindest person on the fucking planet, they will possibly let you keep that. If so, I hope they give other players the same amount of leeway, but you also have to justify why, which is where the hermit background and things like that come in. Or it could be a really potent character beat that your character used to be a normal changeling, used to not be bound by the confines of identity, of appearance, of being stuck to one perception, and then they died. And now they're just trapped in whatever they happen to be in at the time, like being forced to wear the same outfit for the rest of your life and you didn't even get a warning beforehand. Maybe you were wearing, your stuffy church dress and the heels are a little uncomfortable because you only expected to be wearing them for a good, 6 hours at most, if things went on a while. But now they're forever? Hell no. I'm pissed. You should be too. And that gives layers to the character. Um, and maybe the reason they quest is to find a way either to restore them to their original form or to restore the abilities of their original form while keeping the benefits of the half undeaf state that Reborn has given them. That's my character. That's my go-to. I'm playing that. She was a wizard fighter warlock multiclass by the end. And I say she because she got trapped in a feminine form, but it's mostly correct to say she. She was too powerful. I ended up having to have her leave the group and re-roll a new character because the DM couldn't manage her. Not because of flight and not because of lacking biological need, but because as kind of a thought experiment during my planning for this character, I thought, okay, I'm making her kind of be stuck in this porcelain doll form. So either I want her AC to be really shitty, or I want her AC to be through the roof, because that's counterintuitive. Clearly, I'm not in a rush with makeup, and we'll talk about D&D. We'll continue to talk about it some more, because it'll be difficult to remember what I'm saying and stay on topic once I do my eyes, and I'm trying to focus on that. This wizard at level 12 wound up with an AC around 35, I believe. And it was my first time ever playing level 12. So I came from Pathfinder, and I hadn't played 5e D&D since its release when I played Mines of Phandelver back in 2014, or 2015 maybe, when it first came out. Um, and what happened was I knew, of course, I knew that an AC in the 30s is really good for 5e. But I didn't know how good. I didn't know if that meant I would having an AC above 20, especially in the mid 20s, at levels 1 through 5, are always going to be a lot different than having that same AC in levels 12 through 15. You know what I'm saying? So that was a surprise to me in the end that it was just so good. I never got hit. I took damage from saving throws that I failed, but I never really traditionally got hit. We were fighting the flesh-eating, cannibalistic winter spirits from Algonquin culture, if you know what I mean. You're not supposed to say their name, so I'm avoiding it out of respect for the culture. But um, there were three of them at once, I believe. Might have only been two, but I'm pretty sure there was three. I have probably not had more fun in Dungeons and Dragons 5e than I had this session. High level play, first time ever. That might be part of it. I was confident that I was not in danger. And that was how the character was meant to be up until shit hits the fan, you know? Because I always expect shit to hit the fan. But it felt like I got to experience a chunk of that character's confidence through the fact that they weren't exactly in the most danger. I'm trying to decide what eyeshadow we should do because that's my next step here. When I thought I was going to be talking a lot more about the gnomes in Pathfinder, I thought maybe something crazy because the gnomes. I'll keep thinking of it. I'll keep talking. But I've got my notes in an Excel sheet for this character with the massive armor class. So maybe I'll do a stream where I break it down. But I will stress that the only reason I was able to accomplish the stupid armor class that I was able to accomplish is because we, as level 12 characters, were given far more magic items than the Dungeon Master's Guide would suggest giving a party of our level. And when I make a character, I spend 2 weeks at least really making the character, planning out progression level by level. Like I didn't just, oh, I'm level 12, so I'm going to take 6 levels of this, 5 levels of that. Okay, at level 1, she's doing this in her life. This is what's happening. She gets her wizard level, or her fighter, whatever she started with. But then this happens, and her apprenticeship gets compromised, and so to make ends meet, she joins the town guard and gives up for a while her dreams of being a magic user, and she takes some levels in this, and I had it all planned out. Her name, I believe, was Isha Pell. I don't remember what that means. I think Pell was a reference to pallid, like the complexion of a corpse because she was reborn. But Isha, I don't remember. It reminds me of the name Ishtar, which is a Sumerian goddess, I think, or Mesopotamian. I get those confused. But yeah. So sorry, I heard something in my headphone that threw me off there for a sec. Um, you know what? We'll do something extra for the eyeshadow today because I never do that. And I've got these glittery eyeshadows down at the bottom between the Bleachling and the Reborn Changeling. We're talking about very gothic types of characters, um, very Ravenloft vibes or Curse of Strahd esque. So maybe we do black with only a bit of color. We don't want to lean into the vampire, so but we do want maybe red. It doesn't have to be vampire for the porcelain doll-like features of Ishapel. I'm gonna have to do a stream, and I might just once makeup is done, pivot directly into that stream if I can find the Excel sheet where I break down her character build and then tell you what I remember of her. But for now, it's time to do makeup, and I think today we're gonna go. It's so difficult. We'll go with the one called OMG, which is one of the sparkly ones that I've never actually used. Oh, I don't think this is eyeshadow. I think the sparkly ones at the bottom are like finishes to put over eyeshadow. Let me see. Yeah, that's just something you put over the eyeshadow when you're done. I can do that at the end. That makes it so much easier to make a decision. We're going to go with Empire, which is the reddest red shade I have. That goes on nice. And do what we did last time, where we try and hug the lash line with the red, although we're using a different red this time, out from the edge of the eye to about the middle. And this is because we'll blend it out in the end, but I also don't want the red to be the most pronounced or the most broadly widespread of our color palette, even though I do actually want it pronounced. Okay, I had problems hugging the lash line with that other eye. Can I tap a little bit more out? Yeah, that's fine. That's good. I like that. So I need to get the red off me. It is a it is pretty vibrant compared to the other colors we've used. But back to D&D, back to tabletop. I remember, I think Ishapel had a familiar of some kind. I know that one of her magic items gave her advantage on most saving throws. So that combined with her tremendous AC armor class really put in work for her. I'm realizing if those shades at the bottom there are finishes, then I don't actually have a dark. I can't do like a black like I would have liked. Who doesn't own black or at least gray eyeshadow? That's definitely got to be on my list of things to buy. I really got to clean this brush off though, because if we're not going black, we're going way closer to white to get that porcelain effect. All right, give me mellow. Mellow is the next shade, and we will, to a lesser extent, hug the lash line and spread from there. It's really not showing up because it is such a. Oh, that's Spangle. That's different. That's the wrong one. It's such a light shade. I gotta really layer it on thick. Huh. I don't think mellow's going to work. At least not how I'm wanting it to. Live and learn. I've owned this palette for years. You would think I know it. Let me for a second look through what I normally don't even touch and see if I have any other options. But here we go. I bought this for a cosplay in college, probably like 2017. I wore it like once, but it's a white. How could I not have good white? I need a clown makeup type shit. See if we look here, you can see that it's closer to white than most of these. Most of the ones that get anywhere near white turn kind of yellow. But I don't know the quality of this, and it's definitely old and clumpy, so we'll see if we can work with it. It's not doing anything. That was an idea, but that just needs thrown away. Um, Either way, my ideal character, going back to that, would be an Averial elf. I no, it would either be an Averial elf who is reborn, especially if she is, if Averials are extinct in this world, and the fact that she is reborn is pretty much the only reason she's still around. I've played that, but um, on top of that option, the aforementioned Changeling turned reborn, one of my favorites. They don't get the fly speed, which, if they did, that would kind of be broken. And there are other ways to make them fly, of course. But those are my two go-tos. And my favorite D&D class, for example, is the Warlock. Let me see if I can maybe get this pale blue to work. The very pale blue. Okay, that looks like nothing. Am I blind? Am I losing my ability to see color? Come on. Do I have to really, really, really paint it on? It's definitely not working the way I'd like it to. But if I go to the next shade of blue, that's a big step up. I wish I could show you. Oh yeah, that's blue. The next shade up. Let me give it a shot. It's actually not as poppy as I thought it would be. How about that? Blue. We could do like a primary color palette as our goals here. Let me clean this up a little bit. And by primary, of course, I just mean red, blue, and yellow. If you remember color theory. And I think that's what we will end up going for. So I'm going to bust out Buttercup again. One second. Family is trying to ask me something. What is it? Oh, well, that's on the floor now. No, I'm good. They were bringing me breakfast. Let me see if I can grab it. The burrito. I'll eat it in a sec. Yeah, I think this is going to work out. I really love primary colors. I don't know if that's odd to say, but I love pairing them together. I think they complement each other far more than people give them credit for. Okay, I need to work on better cleaning these brushes as I change colors. But what do you think of that? I like it. I think it'll be good once we get the eyeliner on. Mm. Let me get my left eye now. I know I'm holding the mirror in a way that you can't really see what I'm doing, but the left eye is so difficult between my muscular defect, the fact that it's my non-dominant side, and being half blind in its eye. Need more yellow. I like it. I like it. I think it's giving primary school teacher, but a very fun primary school teacher. And I used to work with kids, so I was going into teaching. before I became completely disabled. I have nothing against looking like a primary school teacher in the eyes. Let's get some breakfast. That is good. Could use a little bit of sauce, a little bit of creaminess. It's just a Taco Bell breakfast burrito. I would never order it for myself, but here we are. Good thing I didn't do my mouth while I was putting off my eyes. Sorry for the lack of talking. I didn't really mean for this to be an eating video, but I really didn't want to wait for it to get cold. There, that's done, and I have water. Took way too big of a gulp. Hate when that happens. Okay, what was I doing? Um, I still have eyeliner and mascara to do. I know that much. I'm gonna try the new lip liner. I don't know if I'm gonna try contour again until I know more about what I'm doing. But I do think we're done with eyeshadow. What do you think? I love it, honestly. Little clowny, little preschool teacher ease, but it doesn't match. It doesn't match my nails either. I guess we will move on to the eyeliner. That is thick. That is thicker than possibly I meant to. But I think it's gonna work out. And if we weren't going for a bold look, then we screwed up a while back. A little messy, less smooth than I would have liked, but here we are. And in my smoothing, I'm trying to be careful not to thicken it too much. But I do like it. I just hope it didn't swallow up. It did swallow up all of the red. Something to keep in mind for next time. That is horrible. That is one of the worst eyeliner attempts I've done. That one there. I've not even got a similar angle, but it is my left eye, so I can't be too upset with myself. This is going to be hard to undo. Just a little bit, but my glasses should assist in covering, to an extent, mistakes once I'm fully finished. And if not, oh well. Okay, I could try again. Better, I say hesitantly. Very much not smooth, but we will blame my birth defect and move on. Mascara. Okay, got a little under my eye, but we'll try that trick that I was told, where we wait for it to dry, and then ideally it'll flake off. I can't tell the difference. I almost never can with mascara. I got some on my nose somehow. But it's done. I really want to look into fake eyelashes sometime, so I don't gotta deal with mascara, but I worry those are even more hassle. We still have the lip liner to do, and by the time we're done with that, we can get these little flakes of mascara off our nose and under eye. Okay, lip pencil. Never used one. I have been sufficiently warned away from overlining. But I have been advised to fill just a little bit, and it seems very easy and doable and pretty. So let's see how that works. I like that. I was told with the lip pencil you could just fill and then gloss. That is an option. The lip pencil has a bottom half though, with a strange. Oh, it's a sharpener. Of course, it's a sharpener. I like it. I really like my lips with the lip pencil. I don't really care for my eyes today, but whatever. Let me try and do the trick. The mascara isn't just flaking off like I was told it would. That's easy to cover. And that one did flake off in the end. Uh, Lip gloss over the lip liner as advised. And now, because we're not doing the contour today, I think it's time to see how we ended up. I could have really done better on the eyeliner, but we're all right. Let me put my hair down. Clearly, my hair needs brushed, but I honestly should have done that before doing my face. I do love that lip pencil. I'll be using that a lot more. I just wish my eyes would have turned out a bit better. And of course, I still have to clean my piercings because they're covered in foundation now. So let me real quickly try and see if I have the Excel sheet that I used to plan out that D&D character I was talking about. There we go. I found the Excel sheet very easily. Um, I'm gonna have to look over the Excel sheet to try and jog my memory and come back with a different stream. No, 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 I found it. I found it. It's labeled Necromancer. That's what threw me off because um having the army of familiars really wasn't what the end goal of this build wound up being. I mean, they were a fighter wizard with massive AC and massively good saving throws, or at least advantage on saving throws. Um, and that's good enough, really, for anyone to play it. But they focused on silvery barbs, which was nice. And their thralls, I say thralls, their necromancer minions, that's the word I'm looking for, really took a back seat, even though that was the initial inspiration to the build. Let me see. Their very first level was fighter. Um, First level fighter, but I don't know. I need to label my stuff better, really. They are the new Necromancer from 5.5, I believe, 5.5e. And I can't tell if they take their second level in a second level of fighter, or if they take their first level of wizard. Hmm. Well, either way, I will look over that and I'll do a separate stream for that. I saw that I had more viewers than normal today. Thank you to anyone who watched me. I'm gonna get off here. Bye.